What's good, YouTube? Welcome to Draft Capital Sports. Yes, we are back after a very long hiatus. I almost forgot I had this channel, which is monetized, but sports news and media is starting to heat up, and I think there's a lot of misinformation and imbalance that is happening as far as sports reporting is going. So I'm going to change the trajectory of this channel a little bit. There are a lot of interesting stories developing and happening in sports, and especially sports media, especially here in the digital space on YouTube. So without further ado, there was no better place for me to restart and relaunch the channel than the stories that happened yesterday concerning one Shannon Sharpe, one Gilbert Arenas, and Marcus Morris of the NBA. Now, they all have various legal troubles, but I'm not going to focus on that as much as I'm going to focus on money and athletes and why so many end up at the end of their careers or after their careers are over in situations where, as my father would put it, they are hustling backwards. You know, it's one of those old school Chi-Town phrases. But anyway, this is something that's not talked about enough, is real financial literacy. I'm not talking about credit scores and the play and scams and all that nonsense that's online, but I'm talking about actual financial literacy for people who become millionaires and why they can't keep the money. I think of Kendrick Lamar's intro song to the album To Pimp a Butterfly, where Dr. Dre has an interlude where he says, anybody can make the money, but the hardest part is keeping it. And more, it seems like we have examples of guys who just don't know how to keep all of these millions that slip through their fingers somehow due to nonsensical behavior. Let's get into each story. Let's start with Mr. Gilbert Arenas. Now, he was arrested yesterday, former NBA star and a suspected Israeli crime figure, arrested on federal indictment alleging high-stakes illegal poker games at an Encino mansion, which there was proof in text messages and documents and things showing that Gilbert was a part of setting up these poker games, even though when he was released from prison yesterday on his IG, he made a statement that he just rented the place and did not have anything to do with the illegal poker games. It's a Fed case, and most of the time in Fed cases, they do get some kind of charge and win in court. So Gilbert is in trouble. But the point I really want to make in this video is how somebody who, as you see on the screen, had a career earnings of $160 million is out here, as I said before, hustling backwards. Whether it be the podcast where he kind of has to clown himself and make a bunch of hyperbolic statements and be silly and ridiculous because he needs a salary from or sponsorship from Underdog, sports betting service. Again, these charges being attached to somebody who's sponsored by a gambling service, it doesn't look good, Gil. Just let's keep it real. But Gil has had plenty of knucklehead behavior in the past, but that was many years ago. However, I think through his recent stardom, I guess if you want to call it that, on YouTube and things like that, through the means he has to do it, being somebody who earned this kind of money, he shouldn't really be in this position. He should be in a position of maybe helping others and sponsoring others and funding others. If they wanted to sort of be the talent of a media platform, he should own the media platform and not have to be a performer on the media platform. You know, use your name to get it started, but sit back, fund it, and rake in the money. How do you blow $160 million? It has to do with not having financial literacy, probably some thievery going on, some bad investments, not spending the money properly, and being stuck in the mind frame of a grown child, a baby boy, if you will. Shout out to Tyrese. And that moves me into Marcus Morris. Now, Marcus Morris played, I believe, as recently as last season, and he earned $500,000. He's alleged to be writing bad checks to 2 casinos. Now, at this point, as I'm recording this, there's more of the story developing, so I don't have all the details, but Marcus Morris also earned upwards of $100 million in the NBA. Why are you writing bad checks? And you just made $500,000 last year. Now, again, all these things are alleged. All parties are innocent until proven guilty. But speaking of guilty, now let's move right along to Mr. Shannon Sharpe, who settled his case with Gabriela Zuniga a young lady who is actually 22 years of age. People keep reporting that she's 20. She's not. They met when she was 19, allegedly, and she is now 22. They've carried on a relationship since that time. I believe it was 2023, until she brought up a case against Shannon for, and this is a YouTube safe way to say this, relationship assault and misconduct. Now, Shannon, being an NFL player 2 decades ago, did not make as much money as Gil or Morris. He only made about $22 million in his NFL career, but currently he is a media sensation. And if we look at the screen here, he has an annual income breakdown. This is an estimate of 2025 of a $6 million ESPN salary, which is no longer, $1.5 million in endorsements, $500,000 in podcast revenue, and $300,000 in public speaking, for a grand total of $8.3 million annually. There are plenty of professional females of age that Shannon could legally hire and maybe get his weirdo, freaky things out, right? In a professional setting, all parties being involved, being in agreement, etc., etc. Shannon has blown what is rumored to be a 9-figure sponsorship deal for his podcast, I believe Club Shay Shay and Nightcap. That is probably gone now, as his ESPN job is gone as well. Not saying he won't get some type of deal, but I doubt it will be anywhere in the range of 9 figures, because he is a social pariah due to this behavior. But why isn't Shannon intelligent enough, or it seems to be mature enough, to use all this wealth to stay out of these situations, to be in a professional situation? You can be all the freaky you want to be, but it should be with consent, and it should be in a professional situations. Those things are set up in the United States and around the world for people to participate in, who are willing participants. We have a lack of value of education amongst athletes, and I think there's also a growing trend of companies investing in individuals who they know don't have any sense or have some kind of scandalous issues, behaviors, and problems in their past. If we look at the Diddy situation that just happened in front of everybody's face, he was acting with impunity, all kind of criminal activity for many, many years now, and was still, up until a couple years ago, seen as a very role model type figure, right? And this guy was probably insane. But the ignorance and the lack of maturity that we see, especially in Shannon Sharpe, who is upwards of he's almost 60 years old. This lack of investment in anything that is of benefit to the greater culture and society is, I think, what the problem is. When I look at somebody like Brett Favre, who was accused of stealing money from a welfare fund in the state of Mississippi, and he also had a freaky assault case involved with a member of the media that covered the NFL. So he's a 2 for 2 there with Brett Favre. He's done with money, and he's a freakazoid. Allegedly, of course, allegedly. But these things need to start being highlighted, because obviously professional sports has a huge problem, not only with financial literacy amongst its players and athletes, but also with behavioral issues due to lack of focus on more mature ways of life for their athletes. Now, as far as I know, each league does have programs that teach some form of financial literacy, but most of these guys go to college, things like that. So this is like a societal problem. So when people throw rocks at them, as far as fans and things like that, and they want to cry foul, I just don't think they have a leg to stand on when you see this type of behavior. Most people don't make this kind of money throughout their whole life. And these guys with this kind of opportunity continue and just do all this nonsense and end up in prison. Like 2 of these guys are facing real jail time, in Gilbert Arenas and Marcus Morris, over money issues. Crazy. Anyway, man, let me know what y'all think in the comments below, man. Hit that like button if you haven't hit that like button yet. Hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed. Share this video, tell a friend to tell a friend. Welcome back to Draft Capital Sports, and thank y'all for watching as always. We are gone.